Are pro-EU membership people, Remainers as they were called, Rejoiners as they may now be called, equivalent to American Capitol Hill rioters seeking to overturn the result of the 2020 US presidential election? My name is Mike Cashman. If you find what I'm saying is interesting or useful, please subscribe to the channel. Britannia waives the rules. There are innumerable differences between the conduct of the Capitol Hill rioters who invaded the Capitol and terrorised the occupants, caused some to fear death, and there were some deaths that resulted. There are many differences between them and those who marched peacefully through London in their hundreds of thousands, who signed petitions in their millions. I was on some of those marches. They were extraordinarily peaceful. Somebody said the atmosphere was like a Sunday picnic. There was no ill will. The security presence was actually really minimal. Some police directing traffic. It was entirely peaceful. There's an article in the Spectator that seeks to equate the two. It is absolute nonsense for the reasons that I've just given. But the heart of the article is that it says that the Remain campaign was trying to overturn a democratic decision. Let's just look at this in a little bit more detail. The 2020 US presidential election was duly held and the votes were counted, and there's a defined result that emerges from that. The defined result is that Joe Biden is to be elected as US president. There's a process with Electoral College, etc., but the election was to be confirmed in the Capitol on January the 6th, 2021. The rioters sought to overturn that democratic process. Now, the EU referendum in the UK in 2016 did not produce a deterministic result, a result that could be immediately implemented. Much has been made of its constitutional status as an advisory referendum, and people have argued, toss on that one way or another. But there's an important point here. It was not possible in late June 2016 to say, right, let us now do exactly what the referendum mandated. If the referendum had been held after a period of negotiation with a withdrawal agreement and a trade and cooperation agreement on the table, and the referendum was being held to say, is it now right that Britain should sign up to those two agreements, then it could have been a deterministic referendum. But as of the referendum result, there was much yet to be determined. There were contradictory claims and promises made by the Leave side, and there's been much discussion about how much emphasis one should put on the commitments to retain the single market, retain the customs union or not. How much was said by different people, who said we would, who said we wouldn't. The point is that there were different views expressed by leading figures in the Leave campaign. There were not agreements on the table. There was very little discussion, as I pointed out at the time, about Northern Ireland. Work needed to be done. It needed to be done by either Parliament, possibly after further general elections, or potentially with the advice of a further referendum. But the point is that there was a process to be fulfilled. And, given that that democratic process was to be fulfilled, it's reasonable for people to express their views on it. It's also reasonable to question if what had been promised could not be delivered, what would be done instead. That process was conducted by democratic means, by petitions, by marches, by discussions in Parliament. I'm not saying that It was all plain sailing. I'm not saying that I agree with all the decisions that were taken, but it was a democratic process. It did not resort to law breaking, unlike what was happening on Capitol Hill. And I deeply resent those people who, such as the writer of the article in the Spectator, who equated the two, because if you cannot tell the difference between peaceful campaigning and unlawful attacking of the seat of government, then I expect the effort of trying to explain it to you will not be very effective. If you think what I've said is interesting or useful, please subscribe to the channel. Britannia Waves the Rules. Thank you.